I made two completely different recipes off of one initial recipe. I'm going to start with recipe number 2 and back into recipe number 1. I'm just going to put together a quick rice dish with what I cooked yesterday. So here I have 1 cup of rice that I have washed and drained. And then I've also got about 2 medium-sized potatoes that I have just diced up into small cubes. I left the skin on. Sometimes I remove the skin. Today I just left it on because I thought, you know what, it's got more vitamins in the skin anyway. And honestly, I'm just such in a hurry, so I'm just going to leave it on for today. I'm just going to go ahead and add my rice into the Instant Pot. Next, I'm going in with my potatoes. And then I'm going to follow that up with the rest of my chickpeas. I have my rice and my potatoes and the rest of my chickpeas from yesterday. And I'm just going to add in about 1 1/3 cups of water. And now I just added a lot of potatoes and rice into here. So I want to make sure I add just a little bit more salt. So I'm just going to add some salt to taste just so that it's not bland, because we did add a very large volume of food to this. So now I'm just going to give this a little bit of a mix just to get down in the liquid down there. And last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and add in some crushed red pepper. Once I've added all this rice and potato to it, it's going to be less spicy again because we've added a large volume of food. So I'm going to go ahead and add some crushed red peppers. And this is just going to help spice it up just a little bit more, make it a little bit spicier. If the chickpeas are good enough for you, then don't add this. I'm just going to do pressure cook. And we're going to go down and do 6 minutes, which is what I normally do for rice. Everything else is cooked. The potatoes will be able to cook in 6 minutes. 6 minutes on high pressure, and then once this cook time has lapsed, we're going to allow another 10 minutes natural pressure release. The reason why I put a little bit of potato in it, I know that is very carb heavy. So my goal is to still be able to enjoy rice in moderation. So potatoes really don't have an effect on my weight. It does not cause me to gain weight. In fact, I've had a lot of luck losing weight while eating potatoes. And as long as those aren't fried potatoes, and as long as you're not putting a whole bunch of high-fat toppings on them, you know, like tons of butter and sour cream and cheese or bacon, stuff like that. Assuming you're not doing that. All right, guys, so here we go. Our rice and chickpea is done. So this smells and looks just like biryani. Indian biryani. It's a rice dish, Indian rice dish. Got a pepper kernel here, so let me get rid of that. Oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. Let me let it cool down. I don't know if you can see that. It is so good. It's like cheater biryani. I really, really like this. It's really, really good. It only took me like a minute to throw all this in the Instant Pot. And now I have a totally different meal than yesterday with no effort. So good. Seriously, the potato's really hot, so I gotta eat slowly right now. I'm in a hurry because I'm hungry. Yeah, this is a winner. Winner, winner. And it didn't take any time at all. Once you got those chickpeas ready. Now we're going to go over that day 1 recipe on how to make the chickpeas. You can use regular chickpeas if you don't have the black ones. Today I'm going to be cooking some black chickpeas. I realize these actually look brown. They are more of a brown color, but they're called black chickpeas. I'm doing this. This is the tail end of my bag of the black chickpeas. I like these. I think they're called kala chana on the bag, but they're black chickpeas. But basically, I wanted some chickpeas, but I ran out of my big bag of chickpeas. Is all gone. So I got to get to the store and get me another bag. So meanwhile, I just had just a little bit, this one, and I cooked some. Here I have some that I've cooked because these require a pretty long cook time. I will put my video on how to cook chickpeas from scratch at the end of this video so that you can check that out if you want to know how to cook these chickpeas. But you can actually do this recipe with regular chickpeas or with the black chickpeas. Like I said, so these do not have exactly the same texture. These have a more coarse texture. I actually cooked these for a couple of hours as opposed to like 35 minutes with the regular chickpeas. This you need to cook, in my opinion, to get it a little bit softer, about an hour and a half to 2 hours. But it's just pressure cooking, so it's not a big deal. You just stick it in there with some water and let it cook. So anyway, here I have some that I have cooked, so that's going to give me a bit of a shortcut. You could also alternatively use canned chickpeas, regular or this one, it doesn't matter. Like I said, I'm really just using this one because I ran out of the regular chickpeas. So I gotta go to the store, but meanwhile I also have these, so I might as well go ahead and use this up. Usually I will just dice up the tomato, but I am gonna blend it up today just because I want the gravy to be a little more smooth. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and use 2 small tomatoes in my gravy. So here, I'm just gonna dice these a little bit because they're gonna get blended up, so I'm not gonna get too hasty here. I'm just gonna dice them a little bit so that they can fit in the blender cup. That's it. Okay. Garlic, and just put some fresh garlic cloves in here, but I am feeling uber lazy today, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add some garlic, some garlic, I guess I should say. So here I have cut up some ginger root. I'm gonna add that to my blender cup. So I'm not gonna carry you all the way across the kitchen, so I'm just going to take this. This is my tomato, garlic, and onion. So I'm just gonna go ahead to the other side of the kitchen and blend this up. My tomato is all blended up. Cutting the ends off of my onion, I just sped this up so that you didn't have to watch it in real time. I'm just peeling the onion. And then I'm going to go ahead and dice this up as small as I possibly can get it, because if you leave it chunky, your gravy is going to be chunky. I want the gravy to be nice and smooth, so I'm going to try to get these onions diced up as small as I possibly can. Diced up onion as small as possible. We've got our onion as well as our tomato with our ginger and garlic pureed. And now we also have our cooked black chickpeas. And if you've ever seen my channel before, you will know I have these itty bitty bowls that I'm going to measure out my spices in just to save me some time. A teaspoon or maybe a little bit less than a teaspoon. I'm just going to also add about a little bit of sugar. So I'm just going to add this packet of sugar. And that's just going to balance out the flavor. Folks, so I just realized that I am out of garam masala, which is a mixture of spices. So I'm going to improvise. If you have garam masala, just put a little bit of garam masala, like a spoon or so of it, whatever you like, however strong you like it, in your bowl of seasonings. If you do not, we are going to add some aromatic spices to kind of replicate the concept of garam masala, which is effectively just a mixture of spices. So I'm going to say my powdered spices are here and my aromatic spices are here. So I'm going to put like, it's just a taste, but it's like a pinch of cumin seeds and a pinch of black mustard seeds. And I'm going to go ahead and put 3 cardamom pods. This is green cardamom. In case you're trying to differentiate, There is black cardamom and then there is green cardamom. So we're not going to use the black cardamom in this dish, only the green. And then I've got about 4 cloves, 4 whole cloves. I'm also going to go ahead and put like not too many, but a few whole peppercorns. And last but not least, a couple of bay leaves. So here I have my aromatic spices. And then to my powdered spices, I'm going to add some turmeric. That's probably about a 1/4 teaspoon. Everything is to taste. This is coriander powder. I think if you speak Hindi, this is, I believe it's like dhania powder. So coriander powder, not to be confused with cumin. We already have our whole cumin or jeera over here. So here I have salt, sugar, turmeric, coriander, and a healthy teaspoon of, this is Kashmiri red chili powder. In fact, I might put a little extra for good measure because I like punishment tonight, evidently. All right, so we have our powdered spices and our aromatic spices, and this is going to help to replicate that garam masala. If you have garam masala, put it in here. Forget about this. These last couple of recipes, I feel like I've been out of everything. Here I'm out of regular chickpeas. I'm out of garam masala. I think one of the other videos I was out of something. So you know what you do in the kitchen when you're out of something? You improvise. That's it. There's always a workaround. And if you don't think there is, it's your job as the cook to find it. All right, folks. So I'm going to be adding a little bit of olive oil into the bottom of my Instant Pot, as well as a little bit of ghee. If you do not have ghee, you can always just use butter. This is clarified butter. So we're just going to put a little bit of this. So I've got my olive oil and my ghee in here. I'm just going to turn the pot on to saute. I'm going to go ahead and add my onion along with my aromatic spices. Once my onions are browned, then I add my tomato, followed by my powdered spices. That order. Every time. And then very last, I can add my chickpeas, and you can add water. I think I'm going to use vegetable broth just because I have some that's left over. It needs to get used up. And that's going to give it a little bit more flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and use vegetable stock in mine tonight. But you don't need to. You can always just use water. In fact, water is what I would usually use. I just want to get that vegetable stock used up. When you fry these aromatic spices, particularly the cumin and the mustard seeds in the oil, it gives it a really nice flavor as compared to if you didn't do that. So that's what we're doing down here, and we want to just let this go until these onions get nice and browned up. We'll not sit here and watch the onions brown. I'll be right back once they look like they should. So our onions are getting browned up, and our mustard seeds and our cumin seeds have been popping in this oil. You hear it? I don't know if you can hear it. They're popping in there. That's a good thing. It's going to be lots of good flavor. Pop, pop. That's what you want. You want those popping noises. All right, so our onion looks pretty good right now. It's starting to get a nice golden brown color, but not burned. You don't want to burn your onions. So we're going to go ahead next, and we're going to add in our tomato. Well, that was our tomato, garlic, and ginger combination. Now that we've added our tomato, we're going to give this another little fry just to combine our flavors. And once we add our tomato, we can go ahead and add in our powdered spices as well. And we just want all of these flavors to combine and make us a delicious sauce, which is very thick. We're gonna dilute it. So I think I've got about a cup of this vegetable broth left in here. So I'm going to use that, but I'm also going to need just a little bit of water because that's not going to be enough liquid. I doubt very much that 1 cup of this is going to be enough, so I've also got a little bit of water in my blender cup. So I will add the liquid until it looks right. You see how those tomatoes are starting to turn color now? They're no longer that bright red color. They're starting to kind of get like a brownish hue. That is what you want. So now we're going to go ahead and add in our chickpeas. I'm not going to use all of these. I'm going to use some. I like to cook my chickpeas. I like to cook them in large quantities and then I put them in a variety of dishes. I don't like to make just one thing with it. So here I have added some of those chickpeas. And now we need to thin this down with our liquids. So I'm just going to add the rest of this veggie broth. And like I said, you really don't even need any broth. Just use water if that's all you've got. I normally would just use water, but you know, actually I think that liquid is going to be fine. I think this is fine. I don't think we need any more. That looks good. All right, guys, so our chickpeas and everything is all cooked, but we want to bring those flavors together. So I'm just going to pop a lid on my Instant Pot. I'm going to let it cook for 10 minutes high pressure. And then I'm going to do about a 10-minute natural pressure release. If you do not have an Instant Pot, that's not a big deal. Once your chickpeas are cooked, it's not a big deal. Otherwise, if you're using canned chickpeas, it's also not a big deal. But you can also simmer this on the stove instead. There's no reason to necessarily put it in the Instant Pot. I'm just doing it this way because I like how well it really brings all the flavors together in a very quick, rapid manner. But if you've got a little bit of time on your side, you can just simmer that on the stove and allow those flavors to come together in the pot. So I'm just going to go ahead and do high pressure, 10 minutes, and then I'm going to allow 10 minutes of natural pressure release, which means this pot is going to come to pressure. It's going to cook on high pressure for 10 minutes. Once that cook time has elapsed, then I'm going to allow it to sit. It's going to slowly depressurize for another 10 minutes. So once it has completed the 10-minute cook cycle, as well as 10 minutes of natural pressure release, which is where the pressure is slowly coming out of the pot, I will release whatever pressure is left, and then we'll be ready to eat. And I will come back and show you what it looks like. All right, guys, so our chickpeas are done. I'm going to open this up. But actually, I have some sourdough that is still soft, but I need to get this used up. But I want to go ahead and finish up my sourdough, so I'm just going to serve my chickpeas with sourdough, buttered sourdough. If you're really on a tight budget, just get the cheapest loaf of bread you can find. Sometimes I would use my immersion blender to kind of crush up some of these chickpeas just for a creamier texture. But I'm feeling darn lazy tonight and I just don't want to get it out. So I'm going to use this potato masher or meat masher, or whichever one. I use it for both. But I'm just going to try to mash up a little bit. And I hope you can see down in there, but the texture just becomes a little bit more creamy when you do that. My gravy is nice and thick and creamy. I'm just going to go ahead and put some in a dish and get my sourdough buttered up. And here is our delicious chickpea. Normally I would serve this with flatbread, but I don't have any today, so I'm just using regular bread. So freaking good. It's so good. Also, as you are eating this, I usually eat around the black peppercorns and the cloves, as well as the cardamom pods that we put in, the whole spices. Take those out. Here is the cost breakdown of both of these recipes. I wasn't serving 4, so here I have adjusted the quantities to serve a family of 4, possibly even up to 5. Please keep in mind that prices always change and are also a little bit dependent upon location. I calculated the cost based on the ingredients that I was actually using, and I factored in an entire loaf of bread at about the cheapest price point you would find it, which is about $1.59. I'm having a really hard time eating this one-handed. It was a two-handed thing because I need to use the spoon to scoop the chickpeas into my mouth at the same time as the bread, but I'm having to do it kind of one at a time because you guys are here with me right now. And I left my stand thingamajig over there. The whole house smells amazing, y'all. So I'm gonna go and enjoy this, and I will see you all on my next video.